Dexter Reed's family says he was killed for driving around in his car.
He had just bought his new car 3 days before that, and he was just riding around in his car. He said, "Mom, I'm going for a ride," and they killed him.
But the footage of the shooting seems to show something entirely different. If you watch the whole thing, it seems pretty clear that after being pulled over for a trivial traffic offence, this thug opened fire on police. First, an officer was shot. Did he really expect police not to fire back? Let's bring in journalist and filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, it's an election year. I guess some in the media are wanting to ramp up racial division, but this is just so reckless to be pushing this as some sort of a racist incident.
Yeah, you stole some of my thunder, Rita, because I was going to read to you a bunch of other headlines. So I went through basically all the headlines from all the major media outlets. And I could have CNN, ABC, NBC, NPR. And yes, none of them talked about in the headline that he was shooting back at police officers. No, they are in trying to create racial foment. That's exactly what they're trying to do. But the truth is, if we're being honest, it's not really because of the election. They've been doing this for years. The entire Black Lives Matter movement is based on a lie. The idea that there is tons of unarmed Black people being shot by police all the time. Obviously, you've had me on videos that I've done on this exact topic. And when you ask people, if you ask Black people who had these protests or white people these protests, you ask them how many unarmed Black people have been shot in the last year. Their answer are in the hundreds, in the thousands. Well, guess what? It averages between 13 and 16 people who are unarmed, shot by the police. But Rita, right before I came on, because I do work before I come on your show, I went through the 16 unarmed Black killings by police officers in 2023. And guess what? With almost out exception, every single one of them, if you look at them and you look at the police reports, and if you look at the actual local reporting, there was a reason why they were shot. They were trying to run over the police officer. They wouldn't listen to the police officer's instructions. The police officer felt threatened. So even those 16, if you break them down, almost all of them had something involved, which is why it was justified for the shooting. Yet, they don't talk about, even the Washington Post, which has this database that I went through, their headlines are all about racial shootings, inequality in shootings. Even the deposit of this information that I went to was skewing their own data. It's crazy, Rita.
It is, and it is so reckless, like you said. We saw those BLM riots through 2020. The people were killed. People were bashed. People had their homes, their businesses burnt down. It was just shocking levels of violence. And I'd argue race relations in the US right now are far worse than they were in the 90s. There's just this heightened fear and loathing that seems to exist now. I want to ask you about the parents of a school shooter being sentenced to 10 years in prison for failing to take steps to prevent their child's killing. Their child went on to kill 4 students in 2021. Why aren't we seeing this happen more often? I know that this has caused a lot of debate, but we're seeing plenty of gangbangers, teenage gangbangers out there, repeat offenders who are responsible for extreme violence. Why aren't we routinely seeing parents charged?
Yeah, this is an interesting topic because I think it cuts across any kind of political positioning on this, right? I don't think there is a right-wing or left-wing position on this particular issue, and I like that. Look, I think that the parents have to have some responsibility, right? I mean, this is a child that they're raising, that they have involvement in, and they need to be more involved in their lives. When you walk away from a child's life, look, you can expect bad things to happen. So I think I don't know. 10 years sounds like a lot to me, just off, kind of looking at that from an outsider's perspective. That sounds a little harsh, but there certainly has to be some kind of repercussion some kind of responsibility for the parents as well, because that's the only, I think that's if you want to ask me, you want to ask how are we going to cut down on these shootings, whether it be a shooting in the inner city or some kind of mass school shooting, it's more parental involvement. I think that's really the best solution. It's not a perfect solution. It's not going to answer all the problems, but I think having parents more involved, I think just makes sense. It would cut these numbers down, no question about it.
Now let's talk about the University of California in Berkeley, a breeding ground for radical leftists for decades. But this week, the academics who push this agenda, the social justice warriors who have really emboldened these students for so long, got a taste of their own medicine, Army. What was supposed to be a celebratory dinner at Lord Dean Erwin Chemerinsky's home turned into an angry pro-Palestinian demonstration after some of these invited guests hijacked the event and turned it into an anti-Israeli sermon, and they refused to leave. Let's have a quick look.
Fast, not only from Israel,
It is not your
fast,
house.
not only from my house. Fast. We have attorneys. We have attorneys.
Okay, you don't have to get
Excuse
aggressive.
me.
I'm not
Please leave our house. You are guests at our house.
The Lord Dean released a statement saying, "I'm enormously sad that we have students who are so rude as to come into my home in my backyard and use this social occasion for their political agenda." But Army, I am having trouble feeling too much sympathy here because these academics have helped create this ugliness and it's been unleashed on society. They shouldn't be surprised when it shows up on their doorstep.
Oh, Rita, I love this story. I think the word Schadenfreude was invented for this particular moment in time on television, Rita. That's why the word was created by some German dude. Oh, yeah. Well, sorry. The revolution eats its own. It always has. It always will. Guess what? You guys just saw the pointy end of the spear, my friend. Look, this is yes. Look, you just played a video of mine from Berkeley. I spent a lot of time on the Berkeley campus. This is a campus which has been anti-Israel, anti-Semitic for years, and professors and deans like him, I'm sorry, you have fomented that. You have fed this. Look, I will say this, that, and again, this anti-Israel bias is not simply just anti-Israel. It bleeds, bleed may be understating it, into anti-Semitism. Look, this group that was protesting this dinner actually had on their poster a picture of the dean, a Jewish dean, eating with a knife and fork with blood dripping down from it. It was just, the whole thing was, and I'm using this intently, dripping with anti-Semitism and blood libel. It was disgusting. It was gross. But I'm sorry, Dean. But this particular dean, so you know, this particular dean was pushing for schools and agreed with schools that would ban Zionist speakers. So I'm sorry if I don't feel 1 ounce of sympathy for you. Not 1 ounce.
I'm right there with you, Army Horowitz, right there with you. This is just a delicious bit of instant karma. Hopefully it wakes them up, but we'll see. I don't think so. I think they're so deep in this ideology that even this isn't going to wake them up. Army Horowitz, thank you so much for your time.